ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest, the man behind ScarletFire Guitars, Mr. Leo Elliott. How you doing, Leo?
Hi, all. How you doing?
Man, it's so cool to have you on. You are just, one of the royalty of builders out there, and you're making some fine stuff, and you've had some incredible adventures, and I really don't know too much about you, so I'm so excited to get to learn a little more and hopefully share your story with other folks on how you got into pursuing this as a passion and as a career, and maybe just tell us about what your connection to the Grateful Dead is. What made you fall in love with that music?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks, Jay, for having me on, and all the cool guests you had. Some are friends, some are, there's so many people you meet, over the internet you never met in person. So some of them I met, some I haven't. But yeah, the Dead it takes me back to the 10th grade in high school. I had a friend, his name was Kyle Senzer, and he's since passed away, but he had spent the summer, I believe it was the summer of '89, maybe it might have been in the spring. In the spring break, he'd gone to New York and had been on the East Coast and saw some shows with some friends. And he came back. He's like, man, this band is, incredible.
What a good time.
You got to see, it's like amazing. And he was like the kind of hangout kind of guy. And I was at this time, I was a bass player in high school. I was in a band. We used to rent places, and we had some, we were kind of a thing in high school. But but we were playing like Joe Satriani,
okay, yeah,
that's
what's in at the time,
like technical, real technical like stuff.
Guitar music.
Really exactly, guitar music, and he played some tapes for me. They're real scratchy, and it was another guy in school who was a year younger than me. His name Mark, who came to me and said, Jerry, man, he's really a great player. You've got to, just check this out. I think it was like Slipknot or something. He's like, hey man, check this out, dude. And I was like, yeah, man, I can see this.
That's cool.
I kind of got into it. I ended up going to see a show that summer. It's just from there. I mean, it's just kind of, I only saw the Dead about 23 times.
Wow.
So wasn't a lot. I wasn't these 100-show guys, but
it's more than your average person, though, right? The 23 shows, that's a good run.
Yeah. They weren't all the best shows ever, like I said, and from history, but I enjoyed every one of them, and I enjoyed the adventure kind of around. You're with your buddies, you're driving out to the Grand Canyon, to Vegas, or to see the show. Just the whole thing. I was just blown away right away. I thought Brent was incredible, but I didn't actually get. I wasn't like. I would say on the, totally the trip at that point, but I think where it really got me, it would have been 1990, the December. I had a girlfriend who lived out in Arizona. She was already going to school there. And I took a bus all the way there to see the two shows there at Compton Terrace in 90.
Okay.
And she went the first day, didn't go the second day, and I actually ended up staying there with people. It was some guys there just camping out. I was totally, and I was I was totally into the music. I knew the songs at that point. I remember they opened with "Victim of the Crime." I thought it was just so weird.
That's an interesting tune. It kind of sets a mood.
It was like I thought I was like, wow, this is I don't think I'd actually heard that tune at the point. And so I'm pretty much into the music at that point. And by the summer, we went and saw Mile High, that show in Denver, and man.
So that's December 91 or 90.
This would have been 90, and then Mile High would have been that next summer. Wow. So again, it's like I'm only seeing one or two a year at this point, and then then by 92, we're going to spring tour. We're seeing, the whole runs,
starting to trickle out of
starting to
control
trickle in a little more. It's like, hey, you see 3, 4 at a time. You go to the next city.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes on from there. But that show in Mile High, and it would have been, I think it was in June of 91, would have been that Santana opened. And Santana had just been busted for weed in New Orleans, and the show was delayed because he has they put him on a jet to get in there. He had actually been busted, and they waited, so that, the whole show was kind
following
of delayed.
in Grateful Dead footsteps, right there.
Exactly. Yeah, the busted down in New Orleans. So, so I remember that day, and I drove all the way, back home after the show. I was just, man, it was a great, man. So. I'm just into it at this point, and this is all I listened to, and I had an older friend, a brother of mine, who this guy Chris Babel, who was like 10 years old, 11 years older than us, and he kind of was like the dad. He kind of took us around all these. He was into it too. We just kind of
escorting.
He was escorting us everywhere.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, that's really cool talking to you to hear that story, because it seems like a lot of people, while everybody does get kind of bitten immediately by the sound and they go, oh, what's that? It seems like a lot of people I've talked to have had that almost year-long or 2-year-long kind of acquisition, like you're letting it absorb down in your soul and like, oh, what is this? And then it just explodes and you run with it.
And it really grows. And a lot of it had to do with finding Lone Star Dead radio. Really? We have a radio station here. I didn't even know about, even at that time, but we have a radio station been on for about 25, 30 years. One of the longest running Grateful Dead show outside of San Francisco.
Holy moly.
And this guy, Eric Schwartz, who runs it, and this guy Grateful Dave, who originally ran it, he was playing, we were getting the soundboards, from, 3 weeks ago or whatever. Wow. He would get the tape, so back then, in the no days of seeing it on the internet, the deal's like, man, we're getting spring tour right after that. So it was just like you kind of get into the whole. It's like, man, okay, that was a great run. This was, so you felt like you're kind of a part of it even before you could just download it and it could all be there.
Oh my God.
And that was a new thing, and trading the tapes and then finally getting them on the internet.
Yeah.
And early chat rooms and be able to download file. They took hours and hours and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. So what was your experience like seeing the online community? Because obviously you're sort of late to the Dead scene in the scheme of things, but at least you got to catch it,
Oh yeah. Sure.
You're on that very cool pioneering trail. I imagine you were probably an early comer to some of the forums, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And more like, just being, just kind of an observer, I've never been a major participator in the forums, but it became, as I started building and I started, and a lot of, man, if it wasn't for RU Kind, I would have never gotten off the ground. The people from RU Kind, gave me a chance. They gave me a chance. And I was pretty much an unproven quantity, and a lot of guys from there were really cool.
That's awesome.
I believe, I think his name was Juan Argueta. His name was. He's a lawyer and he sent me a guitar to kind of rebuild. It was in a bad shape. It was a Wolf, and that was the first guitar I ever worked on. So I kind of rebuilt it.
Wow.
But even before I started really building, there was a lot. I remember you'd get on the Grateful Dead website, and it was like, it took on America Online, it took 7 minutes to load up. It was like crazy. I'm going to dead.net. And it was a very early website. There weren't a lot of websites, back then.
Leave it to deadheads to get there first.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how the technology, that's the other thing kind of, really I've always been a techie type of person, and just reading about the history of the Dead and how they really were on the cutting edge of their technology for the day, whatever, even way back when. Seriously. They pushed everything forward. And it was, it was no accident, that someone like Robert Barlow, was, instrumental in some of the way the internet runs. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. It's a cool thing.
That's super cool.
It's a cool thing.
Wow. So you're on the forums and you're talking about exploration into building. Tell us about that, and now just to see where you are today and to see your work. I real quick to tell everybody how excited I got. I went to my first Grateful Dead cover band show. It was Dire Wolf at Newburyport Brewing Company, and
nice.
I was sitting way in the back, and I saw it was Kier and I'm gonna mispronounce his last name.
Anselmo.
Anselmo, yes.
Yeah, Italian guy.
Yeah, super nice dude. And but I saw him, and I saw the guitar he was playing. And you can just see, like, from 50 feet away, I look at my girlfriend and I said, I think that's a Scarlet Fire. I was like, oh, that's a really, I have to go check it out. And I checked it out, and sure enough, it was just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So how did you get from not doing that to where you are now?
I think it's almost like sheer force of will in a way. I had seen that was kind of where I got my foray into this. I mean, I've been, my grandfather and father, they owned a commercial printing business. So, and it was a mom and pop shop. My grandfather started it after the war, and it was a new thing. They had a full service wood shop and metal shop and stuff. They had to like repair, they had to keep everything running there. And there was a guy there, Johnny, this guy who he was a pressman, but he kept everything running, and he was just kind of a jack of all trades. This guy could
Smart
do anything,
people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, and because if you had to go back to the manufacturer to buy something, it might, it just break you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So they, they made it happen. So there was, I kind of got some exposure to some of the workings, and I'd always been a kid who took stuff apart and, like took my tape deck and figured out how to turn my tape deck and to slow it down so I could figure out how the, guitar's riffs went. And it's kind of that way. But for the building, I had, a guy, this guy, Juan, he goes, I have this guitar. It doesn't play really well. I'll send it to you. I said, you know what? I'll see what I can do. Because and this guitar, I don't really want to say who made it, but it was a wolf, and it had a wolf on it. But, and it was kind of, none of the material was really inlaid into the guitar. It was just kind of like
on it.
This Mother Pearl was kind of just laid on top, and just like some stuff laid over it, and and it had these layers, like which would normally be these fine layers of Purple Heart or whatever in between sandwich, the hippie sandwich. Yeah. It was actually pick guard, so it was like the body, and then a black pick guard, a white pick guard, and then the top, and then it had that on both sides. So it's like plastic, and that was the schedule. Okay. And this guy paid an enormous amount of money for this guitar. Yeah. And beyond these things, the guitar had a hump in the neck. The frets were, the thing just was really not playable. It was just not. Yeah. It was as good as a piece of furniture in the shape of a wolf
you can
guitar.
hang on the wall and
look at. Exactly. Look at, like, there it is. But I took that guitar and I actually made new wings for it. I took the fretboard off. I did my own inlay.
Whoa!
I mean, I have pictures of the guitar.
You just went all out.
I mean, I rebuilt this guitar. I totally rebuilt this guitar into something. I think he might have sold it for like double his money later. I mean, it was nothing. If I saw his guitar right now, I'd laugh. But it was.
There's some history to it, though.
For all the cosmetic issues, the guitar played good. I mean, it played right. It intonated. All the notes rang out. I knew. And it was just kind of like that was the offerings, out there, and guys who wanted a serious instrument weren't going to get it. Unless they got Matt Moriarty, who built some really nice guitars at the time, and he was kind of getting out of it kind of when I was getting into it. So, but generally that was the case. So I said, man, I think I can build a better mousetrap, and I just, after that one, I built a couple and I sold them on eBay to people overseas, actually.
Wow.
I think I sold the first one to a guy in Japan for a couple grand and sold one to Germany.
Holy moly.
And, yeah.
That would be
that's
pretty motivational, I would imagine, if you're selling guitars.
Yeah,
Just
the idea.
Awesome.
It was very cool. So I sold them for decent money, what I would consider decent money at the time. And I went to my mother-in-law at the time, and I said, look, man, people are buying these. I'd like to do this, but I'm going to need really a space to work here. And we actually, we got a little bit. We took the other garage. I had a garage. We built another garage for the cars, and I had a purpose-built shop, about 450 square feet.
Oh my god!
Just populated with some of the stuff I need. I just got a little bit to help me out to get started, and I just kind of, read some books and whatever, and I just started doing it. I never had any formal training or anything.
That's so cool. So that's something where it seems like you just kind of got the bug and then you jumped right into that. So was there any in between time of, like, obviously I don't know, after finishing your first couple builds, selling them, were you doing something else and having to sit down and have the conversation, hey, I want to do this all the time, or how did that work?
It's true. It sounds weird, but I was actually in Ghana.
Really?
Mining for gold. Actually, we had
screw the rest of the podcast. We're talking about this now.
It's true. I was in the jungle. I was spending 3-4 months at a time in Ghana on a 25-acre concession mining. Had an excavator over there and a couple stuff. But this was early. This is right when the gold price was,
what year
going
is
from
this?
600-700. This was right around 2010. Well, okay. 2009, okay. 2008 to 2011.
So not that long ago.
The first period of time. No, not that long ago. But gold had gone from 650 to like 700, 800. I said, man, this thing's going. This is, and we had a friend of the family who was from Ghana. And he went every year, and he came back and hooked us up with one of his friends there, and it just kind of it's worked out. So I was actually doing that, and there started to be issues with with currency instability there in the country, and I made the decision that I would shut down operations for then, and I sold the equipment I had over there, and put it in a bank account. Yeah. And came back and said, I want to do this full time.
Holy moly. So that's when you get your space made. You have a whole 450 foot square
foot. It was basically just, your normal 20 by 20 garage,
wow.
And I started out, I got a bandsaw. I knew I needed a bandsaw and a couple things I needed. And, over the years, it's been amazing how much, had I not had a space that was, in my mother-in-law's garage, to start, I would have never been able to do something like this and had the support. And she really believed in me. She knew that what I was doing was good and people were paying something for it. And if I had to be out there and trying to make a rent somewhere or something like that, I could have never done it.
Yeah, that's super cool that you had people that believed in you early on, and now you're here, and clearly your work has paid off. How much marketing did you find yourself having to do? Obviously, I think your work speaks for itself, so I'm going to guess the answer is very little, but
I actually did very little, and have done, the only marketing piece I ever ended up doing was that thing I did with Hunter.
Okay.
That little thing,
actually.
But yeah. Have you seen that?
I don't think
that little video.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah,
yes,
sure.
Yes.
With Hunter, yeah.
Now I know
Hunter Henderson's here from Dallas.
Yes.
But yeah, I had done a couple of videos on YouTube. I think I don't know, 2012 or something like that, and I just made my first Tiger.
Cool.
And I had my little rig, because at the time I was playing in the band. I had a little Jerry band called Mystery Train. Here, cool. And I was actually playing, so I had my rig set up, and I was like, "This is what my rig's at," And I just was like, this is this sound, and
yeah.
And someone wrote on there, it's like, "Hey man, you got this nice guitar, but you're using the camera mic, and
they're pretty easy to find. They'll find you if you have low quality audio somewhere. They will find you."
It's true, and he was right. He was right.
Yeah.
So finally we did one, but
awesome.
Besides that, no. And now it's like a matter of, I try to not advertise. I have more people, like I said, can only make so many. So I just, like I said, they find me, wow. I just try to
is it something where you foresee a wait list happening, just growing and growing?
Well, they've been, I just really don't want to, like I said, as of now, these are, it might probably takes 2 years start to finish for a Tiger.
Yeah.
It's a long time. So I don't want to just start, and that's one of the reasons I did something a little different in the initially. A lot of these guys, I wanted to only take a third down on these things because it's such a long time. Yep. It lets people get into it. A lot of people were taking half. I just didn't want to be holding people's money for all this time. Yep. And it was, I backload it when they had a product, you know.
That's really sweet.
Because initially it didn't take that much, you know, to get it going because I had the equipment and whatever. So that was one of the kind of decisions I made to do kind of early on. It's worked well, but yeah,
that's great.
I foresee, you know, I saw an, there's this, I wish I remember his name. There's an acoustic builder in Nashville. And I have to look him up. I should probably know, but his daughter's working under him now. He's in his 80s.
It's Wayne. Are you talking about? No, sorry, not Wayne Henderson, right? Because he's not in Nashville. He's in Virginia. But his daughter's also doing luthier.
It may be. Is he like he builds like bluegrass guitars?
Yeah. That's Wayne Henderson. I met him several times. Super nice dude.
Oh my god.
He is the nicest, and his daughter is crushing it right now. She's. I wish I could remember.
It is Wayne. Oh, I thought he was in Nashville. I'm so sorry.
I'm sure it's the I-40 corridor, so it's almost all the same stuff. But Tennessee and North Carolina both share a huge bluegrass scene, and he's up in Virginia. And I can't remember the village name, but it's a tiny little town in Virginia. Just
you know, I saw some like guys like Eric Clapton jumped the line. It took him 14 years to get his guitar.
Yeah,
like I was like, oh my god. You know, if you have a product that really someone really wants, you know, they'll wait. I mean, but as much as I'd love to get it to them. So, and I've tried a lot of, you know, a lot of things. I do have two guys working for me. One's a real big deadhead. And he was in the military and does some of the works with electronics and stuff like that. And another guy, a cabinet guy who I've been training up, but I just realized that I'm not, you know, I'm not going to be able to get another me. I'm only, you know, so I try to delegate what I can.
Cool. So when did that, when you were trying to expand, what did that look like? Hiring people?
Well, you know, so first I just expanded because I needed the space. I mean, I was like, you know, a lot of people, you know, hey, I'm going to build a Jerry guitar. You know, I got my Ryobi saw and I got this and I'm ready to go. He's like, you don't realize how, you know, just how much stuff it really takes to do this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just bursting at the seams. Awesome. And I couldn't barely move. I was just pushing stuff outside and it became very inefficient. It's like, you know, if I want to take this to the next level, I was like, so I bet I could build 4 more guitars a year if I don't have to keep,
if you're doing the stuff that you can do, you know,
right?
You might as well.
So that's what I was trying to expand on doing it. And I knew I couldn't do it without a space. You can't really bring somebody into a home, you know. And since all this happened, my first wife passed away about almost 6 years ago. Very unfortunate. So, you know, it was 3 years ago that I actually finally moved into I moved my own space. I took out a loan from the bank and my father-in-law helped me out with that. It was, you know, couldn't do it without him. He helped me out, you know, with getting that started. And I got in this space. Now I've got like just under 2,000 square feet. I have a big space to work, a shop to work in. I have an area to, you know, do the, you know, the guitars to bring them in to be done. I have an office area, you know, so I have space and I hired someone very quickly. Doug's been with me. First guy I hired worked. You know, I mean, I know that labor's high, but this guy, his story was really cool. I put an ad in Craigslist and I didn't even mention guitars. I just said, hey, you know, I said something like, you know, meticulous person with cabinet maker background can, you know, detail work into the thousandths of an inch.
Yep.
You know, just kind of a couple of things I thought that would be good. And that's, you know, all the ad was. And a couple guys responded. This guy, Doug Gordon, responded. It turns out he saw the Dead. It turns out he saw the Grateful Dead. I told him what we were doing, and I showed him my work. And he wasn't a Deadhead. He's a keyboard player, but he saw the Dead at Manor Downs in '85. That's it. And he told me the story first time I met him, that apparently they played at this place in Austin in Manor Downs. It was an old racetrack. And during the show, he said he took a bunch of mushrooms and they were pushing dummies out of a helicopter.
Oh, no.
And And
Just to
he'd never been
screw
to a
with the
show.
deadheads.
Yeah. So like pushing these dummies out, and everybody's like, like, I never knew it was a real person or not.
Oh my god!
He goes, I fell asleep and woke up somewhere in the second set. But but I've never talked to anyone who's ever at the show. But so he goes, that was just but he's I've been a real cool guy. And he's been really helped me a lot, and he's learned a whole bunch, and he loves coming to work, man. I mean, he was working at a place he's always got good ideas, and just at the beginning, about 5-6 months ago, I added that guy Patrick, who I just kept seeing at the Forgotten Space gigs here in Dallas.
Sweet.
We were talking. We played Jenga one night and just started talking, and he was talking about overtones from a Travis Bean, and he was like, I was like, oh man, this guy, so it just kind of worked out. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Kind of so it's kind of worked out,
So here you are now, and you're building stuff and just all kinds of guitars. What's your favorite to build? You build a lot of wolves and tigers and rosebuds, it seems, but I do. I've actually sold 3. I built that new guitar, the Lion. So I built my own instrument. I guess the first one I delivered this last summer to Stephen Kim out in L.A. Cool. And I sold a couple since, but I try to look at each one a little differently. A lot of guys, they want spot on. I have guys that'll say, I want cigarette burns. I want this, I want, the wolf chip from 80.
I want it crooked. I want, there's some that want, and some people's like, I want to make this my own. I had one guy, I had done he had heart attack, and he was, he actually, his name is Mark Davidson. He worked, he actually knew Phil. He does some recording. He's an artist, and he said, I had this heart attack. I survived. I want to do some of the theme of a heart, and so I got to thinking about it. We ended up doing the Steal Your Heart, kind of wolf cool. Instead of the wolf. He didn't want the wolf, so it's kind of cool doing some of these other ones. And I got to work with Larry Robinson doing that Gand wolf. This guy wanted a Gandalf.
Oh, that was the coolest I think I've ever seen.
And Larry did a killer inlay. Larry's been, one of the things over the years there, Larry had about 3 or 4 really cool DVDs about the art of inlay. Okay. And I had seen, his works in Smithsonian. I mean, this guy's like, seriously, he did that. He was a major contributor to the Millionth Martin. If you've ever seen that guitar,
yes, I have.
Crazy.
I've seen it in person.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Oh wow. So that rosette and all that stuff on it, the tuner peg, all that, he does amazing work. God. And one day I hope to be half that good, but sure something like that. I said, Larry, make this happen for me.
Wow. So you're not doing a lot of inlay work yourself. You outsource that to him.
No, I actually do the inlay work myself.
Okay.
But this particular, when it gets to be something like I did, the inlay, for these things or something simple, I did the heart myself. But man, when it's a detailed face thing like that with that serious art, I went to the artist. But,
okay.
So yeah, I try not to farm out too much.
That's awesome.
But the main deal is the detail. When you have the really small fitting parts like that, it's just that's all he does all day, every day. It looks like a computer did it or something. No, but he's cutting that shit by hand.
Well, that's the kind of thing that I know I'm just too uncultured to even fully appreciate the work that's going into that. Like I have an idea of what that looks like in my head, but I know I have no clue what it takes to painstakingly align.
Like just those, like on the 24th fret of the Tiger, the Rosebud.
Yeah.
There's that Jay Garcia, deal. And some people want other, they might want Rosebud, they might something else in there. Yep. So, but those things, there's those little letters, that things that, you're talking about 1/4 of an inch in a piece of pearl. And these letters are so tiny. And I take a drill that's like 10 or 12 thousandths of an inch and drill a hole and stick the blade through there and cut this little letter out, and make it look like something.
That's
I use all
nerve-wracking.
this, yeah, and you might do 4 letters and then it breaks. I mean, just because it's really close to the edge.
Wow.
But it's just kind of the persistence to do it. But that's why I have such
Scares me.
appreciation for what Doug did to begin with, because man, he did this with
Back in the
1970s kind of technology. Yeah, way back in the day.
All these years later, now you're carrying the torch. So cool. Man, Leo, I want to see more of your stuff, as I'm sure I will, because people are just snatching it up, it seems. And it's hard. It's so cool. It's almost impossible to describe how exciting it is to see your guitar in the wild. So hopefully one day I'll get to own one as well.
Sure. Well, you should come to the shop when we get this craziness.
Yeah, when we can travel freely again and not worry about it. That'd be nice.
Come down. You can see. These guys here in Dallas, the dead scene here is really vibrant. You'd think in a southern city like that, but Forgotten Space is a really solid band, really good. Hunter is super talented.
Awesome.
And
he's a great guitar player from the videos I've heard. Killer.
And for years, this kid was, I say kids, we're so young, but Kenny Withrow played in this band for years. 5 or 6, 7 years,
cool.
And I believe as a young, 12, 13-year-old kid, he started taking lessons from Kenny, and he was playing out, he was playing the blues bands and stuff when he was 13 or something. So, this kid has been playing out for a long time, and he's just, and he takes some of these songs and does something new with it. Some of the licks he plays, it's like, wow, this guy's, not just regurgitating something. He's bringing, something else to the table, which is kind of what's cool.
That's what we
want to reinterpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what keeps it fresh and keeps the torch continuing to burn.
That's kind of the. I know you're not asking a lot of questions. I seem to be. I don't know if I'm talking.
No, it's perfect.
Much, but,
this is great. I haven't had to think of any.
To think about this torch passing, I know this Andrew Logan, who has been, a good customer of mine. Andy, he does the whole scene an incredible service. I mean, the guy, he buys some of these instruments, very expensive instruments, to literally give away to people who are out there playing and giving their heart, and they could never afford one of my instruments. He has his foundation, he's getting off the ground, that he's giving these instruments to people and making sure the music's not only continue to be played, but played on the top quality instrument.
He's love gone that. That's so, that's what's needed in the community.
Yeah, and be out there, and he just bought Jerry's Alligator,
and the Martin. Don't forget.
And the Martin. He called me. He just, one of his newest acquisitions. I don't know if I should say anything, but he just got he bought from Dan Healy the Mac 3500. Tube amplifier that Jerry used during he used it for he used the 3500 for a very short period of time in 72, and Healy thought it was the best sound during the wall.
That's a tube Macintosh?
A tube Macintosh, 350 watt by channel tube Macintosh. And then it was in which I didn't realize, it was Waldo who told me that it was an exclusive, basically a Travis Bean amplifier. After they the Dead had the hiatus, of 75, 74, they finish up all 75, there's 4 or 5 gigs in 75. Mm-hmm. They call it quits. They kind of reorganize. It was kind of like a reorganization, getting away from the wall of sound thing and moving into their own thing. So Jerry was trying new things, and he used that tube amplifier with the Mark I. So that's what he was actually playing. He's playing a Mark I head, which had a preamp out on it.
Yeah.
With the Travis Bean. So it was kind of Travis.
I never realized that he was using a tube power section in that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was a cool thing, and I think by 10, of 76 by, because the shows in 76 start in June.
Yeah.
So by October, So by October, he switches over to the dual head. So he's back to the silver face, black face, but with the same amp. But by May of 77, the famous May of 77, he's back to the, down to the rig we can pretty much consider
the standard rig, right?
The standard
That's
rig.
Really interesting. Well, I have
the 23.
Wow, literally had never heard of a.
So he just got this guitar. Yeah, he just got this amp, man. He's like, I got this amp. And I believe he got that. He also got that 66 twin from Phil's auction.
Okay, nice.
He got that, and I believe he also got the Brent's. It was Brent's MIDI keyboard. So he the MIDI unit that Brent had, and it was in Phil's auction.
Is it a Kurzweil?
It's a Kurzweil.
Yeah,
a Kurzweil MIDI rig that he used.
Oh my!
So, the cool thing, someone told, gave him, one of his, advice, say, hey man, that's the one, dude. That, look at that stick. That's because what happened was they had a reorganization. Waldo had been looking for Jerry's amps, who has Jerry's amps, for years. And he was talking to Lemieux, and he said, well, they're taking inventory right now. And they're taking, and this was, I don't know how many years ago, but they were taking inventory of everything. I believe that they ended up, and nobody knows exactly, but they split everything up. That's why Phil, so one of the guys has, somebody has.
You don't know which one it is.
We don't know which one, but I don't think it's Phil unless Phil kept it,
Okay, yeah.
But we don't know which, who ended up with it, but,
Is that the kind of thing that we'll ever see come up for sale, or is that going to be hidden in the dark?
I don't know. I don't know, but all Waldo wanted was serial numbers.
Yeah.
He's like, please, just give me, come on, give me the serial numbers on these things. He's dying, man. So, well, I don't know if we'll ever know, but he's trying, man. Yeah. And he's looking for his amp, his 90s rack too. Cool. And
the trio and all that stuff. I wonder. Nobody really searches for that as hard, so I'm sure.
No, it's true. I think, I just don't. I loved it. When he switched over to that system, that kind of acoustic sound he had in '93. I would go see it now every day of the week, but I wasn't thrilled with it.
It's come up on the last 3 podcast episodes. I think is the
really?
The '93 tone. Yeah, Josh was like, "Hey, give it a listen." Yeah, so we have. That's too funny. Well, man, so that's awesome.
True,
so Andy is doing awesome things for the community. Just want to give a shout out to him. He's super
absolutely
cool.
During this, we've been he has been filming this movie now for the last 2 years.
God, that's
over
awesome.
2 years. Filming ended sometime at the beginning of the year or last year, but they've been in post production, and with this, they filmed me. They came to my shop and did some stuff. They filmed me at Red Rocks.
Awesome.
We brought a guitar to the guy from Dark Star Orchestra. That was my first. Yeah, not only my first time at Red Rocks in all these years. You think I would have seen a show there, but there, a lot of the Dead didn't play there. Fish wasn't allowed back. They did. I think they played there in 2009, but that was kind of past my time.
Okay.
But so I never had the chance to actually, go there, but to go there and then be in the tunnel and go up there backstage, I'm seeing the show from on the stage. It was really cool. And those guys from Dark Star are they're a real class act.
They all seem real nice, don't they?
They go down the road with a semi full of, they're a real thing. They're not just some guys that show up. They're a real band.
Yeah,
and
I love that they played more shows than the Dead ever did. That's crazy as
it's killer.
Awesome.
They, real class act, and they treated us so cool. And all we did was bring a guitar to them.
Wow.
Andy brought that black knife, and of course I had the Tiger that I had just redone.
That's awesome.
And that night, just so happened the show had a Scarlet Fire, but he did a shout out to me at the beginning of the second set. And then went into Scarlet Fire. It was it was a highlight for me personally.
Wow, that's huge.
I was getting the goosebumps.
Yeah, of course
it was very
you
cool.
would. That's oh my
with
god!
the
I'm so excited for you. That's just well. That was how I first.
It was definitely cool.
That was how I first saw Andy. Was through those pictures. I think of you, and I sent him a message, and I was like, "Who is this guy? Is this Dark Star's manager?" And I learned that he's a super nice dude who wanted to, as he described, selfishly. He said, "I selfishly want to hear the tones that I didn't get to hear as much." So he's just continuing that spread of good love. Which is awesome.
God. And I've done it for, like we said, we have Mick Bondy.
Oh my God! Yeah, tell us some of the players that play some of your badass guitars.
Mick. Mick. Obviously, there's Zach. Obviously, is another one. I'm currently working on one for Garrett DeLorean of.
I don't know
great,
his band.
Great player.
What's the band?
Jerry's Middle Finger.
Thank you. Cool.
Jerry's JMF, and they're really really good.
I've seen some
and
bands.
we did get the call.
There's Wendy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's an all-star cast of builders. Hey, look,
yeah.
It's Wendy with her Hogue shirt on.
She's got the Hogue shirt on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So so
That's
definitely
beautiful.
very cool.
Hey,
and he's got several other guitars on order that will be for they're yet to be picked out who's they're going to go to.
Oh my God.
But to ask you, so how did you get into this?
Oh man.
This thing?
So we're getting on my story now.
Yeah.
Long story short is always played guitar since age 7. Started taking lessons. And then I think in high school I started to play my first shows out occasionally, just as 13-year-old, 14-year-old in bars in the South, and it was fun. But I really got bit listening to Without a Net at age, I think it was probably 13 or 14, when your brain's developing and releasing all the chemicals that lock in that music for the rest of your life. And my dad was a taper in the 80s, and he passed his love of it's just that sort of techie stuff that he never did anything with professionally, but always as a hobby and as a passion.
It's a cool thing, man. If you're taking the time to tape it, should be right,
Oh my God, it's awesome, and he has the perfect mind for it. He's just perfectly analytical with all the labels. I'm gonna try to have him on as a guest. I think it'd be super fun. But abbreviated story. I'm trying to stick on the super. It's hard for me to summarize. Hang on. So we're in high school. I think started to kind of I don't know, didn't really like play out until college. 2017 was my first year with more than like 15 or so shows, but then I just started doing it and was doing cover band gigs and playing in weddings and stuff. And after as I was graduating college, I was like, just playing weddings all the time. And I thought, I don't need to do anything else yet. So I'll keep playing music all the time. So, was just rocking and rolling, cutting my teeth, as I describe it, just gigging and practicing that experience.
Hey man, it doesn't matter. Weddings, like I said, wherever they'll hear you, man, you got to do it.
It's a show, yeah, exactly. And I'm happy to travel, and somebody gives me some money to go set up equipment. I'm always glad to. So we're doing that, and I think somewhere along, I always loved the Grateful Dead, but it was somewhere, I don't know what hit me. I probably 2015 revival, watching those live streams. You just get so sucked into like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to find that sound, and yeah, so then the search for the sound began, and then here we are in 2020, me realizing like, I don't know enough. I need to know a lot more, but I don't know how to do that. So let me just, my selfish reasoning for starting this whole thing is like, I want to collect these thoughts and experiences from people that are either way smarter, more experienced, or better, or whatever it is, from these tech people like Mike Wald, people like yourself, people like Dr. Chris Iannotti, a neurosurgeon that plays
so you are talking to Waldo.
Yeah, oh yeah, and well, I don't know if he's coming on, but that's, this is the invitation, Waldo. I've invited him.
I know, I absolutely will. I'm actually going to, I'm going to meet him first time in person in a couple weeks.
That's so cool.
So,
I'm jealous.
yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
You and Josh
I mean,
are hanging out with him?
I've been, yeah, Josh is going to come up too. For the first time, you know, I've been through Chicago. Man, we got to get together. I was like, I'm here for this or here for that. But we finally set a time, so that's cool.
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
I can't think of a more. There's so many awesome minds in this scene, but Walds is he's one of my favorites. Just getting to talk to him, the man's so smart and so generous with his information, and it's pretty awesome.
Man, he was. He was firmly. It took a while. I had to win him over with my work. Because he was firmly in the Moriarty camp. I was like, don't even try it. It's already. The best's already been done. Don't even try. Yeah. But over time, he hey, I got these pictures. I got this.
He's gonna like it.
Or he started and now where we talk. Talk a couple times a month. We're always kind of texting back and forth with funny stuff. Yeah. He's just taken the time to catalog every incarnation of the alligator's wiring. He has 15 wiring diagrams of all the changes of the alligator from the moment it started. So he's got this whole chronology, and it also culminated in realizing that the Limbic Stratoblaster was never really produced. It was a prototype in Jerry's instrument, and it didn't have a switch, it didn't have a gate. All those things kind of came out of Jerry's work. So when they actually started putting it out and giving it to people, I'm sure they might have put it in other people's guitars too. But he kind of
Jerry was one of the
one of the big the beta testers.
That's
I'm
crazy.
Sure some of the things that he thought this needs to have ended up in the final one that we know. That little because he had a little breadboard one that was in there. So 15 different. I think it was like 15 different incarnations of wiring. Because originally the Strat, it didn't have. He had a 50 Strat, 59 or 58. It's a hybrid. It only had a 3-way switch. The in between stuff,
you had to physically stick it there.
You had to physically stick it there, right? And so the wiring was different. They changed. There were a lot of things they changed over time, but it was cool that he just to keep digging and figure out why. And we've got new information. I don't know, he may kill me for saying this, but we realized after all these years that Jerry's Wolf that he played at Hampton, and when it came back out at that point in time, was actually the first guitar with 3 humbuckers. That neck pickup was actually a HS2. It was a humbucker stacked humbucker. It was actually a stacked humbucker, and the idea that hey, just put 3 in Rosebud because he already had this platform. It was the way Jerry operated, and this was totally Waldo. Is like you had all these incarnations of the alligator, and then all of those things show up on the wolf. The stack of knowledge. This is what we want, and then it kind of goes forward, and the same thing. These same things come forward and become the tiger, whatever So it's like they whether it's
crazy.
There's a method to the madness. It's not just some random stuff. It's like a accumulation. It's like, okay, we're ready. Let's do it.
I'm sure the more you know too, like the both simultaneously easier and harder it becomes to find the missing links. Because I know this and I know this, so there must be something here. But what in the world?
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, wow. and Waldo's like, hey, so the stacked humbucker, and Jerry, he was a creature of habit, but he didn't always just use the middle pick. I mean, he that would be his starting point, but
it's great.
You see a lot, but in the Jerry band, he used the in betweens, and neighbor or some others, and for a while there, I think it was Waldo was saying 81, 82, 83, you'd had all of the Samson Delilah, the kind of was an in-between sound. It was like that,
Interesting.
the in between the middle and the bridge.
You certainly don't hear that very much. I remember that was the biggest distinction seeing some of the John Mayer Dead and Company stuff at first compared to like your classic, hey, this is what Jerry Garcia sounds like. The one thing you notice is that he's on his in-between all the time. And it was cool in some ways, but it was also like I can see where if you already had some kind of hesitations about John Mayer going into it, you would that
would like, hey, reinforce it.
Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't have it, but that's just because Jerry was not on the in-between settings that often. So
yeah, and it's the sound too, and it's it's the attack, it's the attack and the kind of the lateral kind of so Jerry, as technically is a very caged player, and he's a very the home is his pinky. Yeah. So the root note, very few people play. I mean, jazz players play like that a lot, but the root note is your pinky, not your first finger. So just that alone changes changes everything the way you approach your notes and where you're going to go for everything. It kind of makes more logical sense. To start with the pinky, it's maybe not physically as comfortable, but it for the playing, because that's the way. If you think of any chords, that's that's how they unfold. Just
the shape of your hand is naturally going.
Yeah, kind of that way. So I can see it. So, but it's just rather than just like this is the root on my first finger, and then I'm going to go from there. So that's
yeah.
So that one distinction alone.
Undoubtedly a master, and it's cool when you have the rig to replicate that sound, what you learn about his touch and feel. It's different from what you expect.
And there's always that argument, but I'll tell you, I mean, I never, the first time I had, what I would consider a really rig, I had that dual showman. But the first time I just took one of my guitars and just, I think it was when I brought a guitar to Kenny Withrow. And he's the kind of guy that he had an Alembic. So the Alembics have a really weird EQ and pickup system in them. Yeah. And so he could get a really good Jerry tone, but you should see all the stuff that he had going on. I mean, filters and he had all these things to, I said, guess what? I said, man, just plug this straight in your amp and then play an E chord. Tell me what you think. And it's like, there it is,
Oh, that's what I was missing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, not like I was telling him something, but just for that instrument, that's the way he could do it.
Yeah.
But so that's the first time I realized, wow, there's like a huge difference here. That's the sound. Now, sure, you might have vibrato, you have this, whatever, but that's the tone.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Man, speaking of that, I'm now thinking about all this wiring stuff. How did you get into the wiring side of things, electronics? That's kind of different from woodworking,
It absolutely is. And that's where I had a lot more experience with that than I did woodworking. Being with the electronics, kind of where I come from, but I had built, I had been building my own kits for years. So nice. I built my own. I
preloaded pick guards or kits in.
No, my own. No, I built effects from scratch. I actually built just Like so, I built. My best one. I built a Univibe. Univibe awesome. That's like that's like 450 component. There's a lot of stuff in there. It's not like there's a lot of components in there. Yeah, it's a Univibe's a big, maybe 400, but it's a lot of components. It's a big build.
Yep.
But that was the culmination. I built, tube screamers and all kinds of stuff. So I started with kind of that stuff. So building boards and I even got into etching my own boards, building my own, boards, and stuff like that. So I'd done some of that stuff beforehand. Yeah. And I even started to, to build these preamps that, that Waldo does now.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I etch my own and do them. But, later on, just out of homage to him, all my guitars have Waldo preamps in them just because,
awesome.
I could build one, but why would I? It's his deal. He did all the research, that's the way I do it, But yeah, so I kind of had more background or more experience in that than actually the woodworking.
That's pretty cool. So that probably was pretty easy then to incorporate. It feels like your home
base.
Yeah.
But it's still, when you sit down there with an iron and that's I think I was one of the, not first one. But as a builder, to sit there and I was relentless. I mean, I searched all over the world to find these components, the components that he was using. So I didn't ever use any of this. I didn't want to use substandard. I used military spec components.
Cool.
I found these, like the Olympic Stratoblaster had this little, J203 op amp in it. It wasn't an op amp. I'm sorry, it was a transistor, PMP, I guess. And they looked like a fisheye. And I found like the last 30 in existence. I've never seen any more. I bought them all up. I found a place they had them, and I gave some to Waldo, and so we could build them just like the original.
Awesome.
And he had found a good substitute.
Yeah.
But like just recently, this summer. So I had been building these. I got these Alan Bradley for years made these Mod Pods. And Jerry used them extensively. They're called Mod Pod. They're modular. So
I'm not familiar with a Mod Pod. What?
A Mod Pod is something specifically. They're a military grade pot.
Pot.
But
Gotcha.
they're a potentiometer
cool.
that has. They have. They're called modular because they could put a 250 wafer. You could put 50 of them. You had the bolts long enough. You could stack 10, 12 of them in a row. For military, they could all be different values, and they could pull one out and you could put them together. And they actually had screws on them in the 80s when they were made by Alan Bradley, and you could take one off and change it, and it was modular. But that's the ones Jerry's used for his. He used these for his toe knobs and stuff like that. And they were very hard to find them. And Waldo was like you could buy old one values you didn't need in a version, and cut the pins and put a different one on, make the one you need. But I found the last company that was making them, this company, State Electronics, they're still in business, but they had the contract from Alan Bradley, and they were still making for the military. Well, finally, Honeywell, who actually owned it, Honeywell said, "You know what? We're not going to make these anymore." And that was it. And they told me, State Electronics said, "This is the last ones that'll ever be made." And the military was like ordering, they have tanks that use these, all this stuff. They had to order tens of thousands of these things to have them spare parts for stuff in the future. But they, as of, somewhere, beginning of the summer, they stopped making them. So I had to put in a large order. Yeah. And they said it was like State Electronics, it was like $45 million a year business. They just said, "No, I don't think we need." I mean, to Honeywell, $45 million apparently not a lot of money. But they're like, we're not going to do this anymore.
That's weird.
When this happened, the price of pots went up everywhere. I mean, just not even any pot, a Precision Electronics or another company that makes a good military pot, doubled in price.
Whoa.
It was weird. So
that's a big market. What's the word?
Yeah.
Just I just blanking on it, but that's that power vacuum.
Potentiometers, anything that has a mixture
military
boards or a volume
potentiometer that I would imagine there's a lot of places using.
Yeah, I mean, we have so much in the military. Yeah, right. We have so many things in the military that is 20 years old or 30 years old that they continue to use. They need those parts for.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, so I And
so what do you do when stuff
cheap.
like that happens? Other than turn into Waldo and say, "Please
I buy
help
enough.
me."
I buy enough for the next 5 years. That's exactly what I did.
All right.
So that I can have the right parts.
So 2025, what's that look like for you?
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody else is making them by then.
There are other companies. I would say that probably would make a big difference. And I'll do, what I can then. Borns makes some really nice ones. And I've actually talked with representatives there, but
cool.
Anyways, but the point is, I really tried to make the electronics end right on.
Yeah.
And a lot of ones I saw just were using just cheap shit off the Chinese stuff. And even the ones today, whether one brand or another, they're not, they're putting the right values in there, but the wiring suffers a lot of these guitars. I get people call me all the time. Will you rewire my guitar up?
That's not the kind of work you take on, right? Is you're entirely
not anymore.
Okay.
I used to. I used to have people come and I do jerifications.
Cool.
Strats and stuff like that.
Brian White
now it's just
mods.
strictly building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I would imagine that's a great place to be. What an awesome story you have, Leo. It's I feel like we could sit
Thanks,
here
man.
for
I
a
appreciate
couple
it.
hours and cover it all, but I think
Well,
we just
no,
did
no,
that.
yeah,
So
I think we got enough.
we
No,
got awesome. No, this is killer, man, and I'm so grateful. Hey, real quick, since she's been sitting behind you this whole time, you should introduce her. If for
Yeah,
those
this is
who
my beautiful wife, Wendy.
she can't hear, but hello, Wendy.
Yeah.
She's a
She's,
total trip. We got to give her credit for
myself.
yeah.
So I don't.
Could she see?
Yes.
She's got her,
Okay.
her Rich
Yeah,
Hogue
she
shirt
is,
on, and
I keep
Yeah, and she, had never played, never seen this music before. Nothing like that. I took her to Fare Thee Well in Santa Clara, and she enjoyed the hell. I mean, she had a blast.
that's
She's
so
like, man,
cool.
we went to Chicago. We've seen, she's seen 50 Fish shows in the last
54.
54
Hell
Fish
yeah.
shows. I
Good for
mean,
you.
we've seen Dead and Company. She's just been
We've seen Mars Hotel is to
we went to the Ashkenaz and saw Mars
Ashkenaz.
Hotel.
That's
we
awesome.
saw Dead and Company opening at Shoreline. We saw Forgotten Space a million times in Dallas, Texas. Shout out to DFW, Grateful Dead.
And now she's teaching. She's working with people on the forum to help with their singing. She has
I've
a singing
heard that.
background, and she's my.
Sounds
And besides that, she's my number one in my life partner. We met in high school and re-met now, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's so adorable. I love that, y'all. Well, cheers.
man,
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for your time, brother.
We're gonna be able to talk to her at some point, I think, on the podcast too, and have her give some vocal things for folks. So I just want to thank you both. Thank you, Leo. I really, really appreciate it. And hey, Wendy.
Oh,
now you can
hi.
finally hear. Hello.
Yeah, I didn't think
Oh,
about
you're,
that.
go.
oh my
hogging
God,
it.
hi.
I'm sorry that
Well,
we
thank you
couldn't hear, but
thank you so much for considering us, and
It's been a
we
Thank
appreciate
blast.
it.
What an honor for you to ask Leo to be a guest on your show.
But you got to also
some
come on
comments.
too. We're trying to pick the best of the best, and not a lot of people have heard anything about vocal singing stuff. So we'd like to
What?
get you on
Thank
too and have an episode of your own.
That's so sweet.
But
Oh
thank
my
you
gosh.
for setting up
you.
the tech for Leo to get this done. Cause
Yeah, without her, I've been
yeah,
lost.
you
Okay.
guys should have seen it. It was great. But
Do you have a drop?
I know we didn't see it.
Do you have a drop? You have a Dropbox?
Let me see your shirt first.
oh, my shirt. So this is
Yeah.
this is the Jers Gal shirt. This is from Aaron's Picks. Can you read it? Is it
Yeah.
backwards? Althea.
Althea. We call
Sugary, Bertha,
or
Peggy,
Jubilee,
Stella.
Bertha's Peggy.
That's it.
All right.
Asps.
And
I
then
like Peggy.
on the back,
like-
it says Jers Gals.
Cheers, gals.
Oh, wow. What about does
Is that like the Brown Eyed Women or something? Or what?
I
What's
don't.
this?
No. It's just a shirt that some dude on
Cheers,
Instagram.
gals.
Yeah,
I
Jers
get it.
Gals.
I get
well,
it.
mine
yeah.
is in honor of Mr. Rich Hogue.
Have you talked to Rich?
I have
You-
not, and I would love to talk to Rich. He would.
He's the coolest.
He's
cat
a really
in
cool
San
cat, and
Francisco.
I mean, dude, he's shook the hand. He's been there. I mean,
I just
like-
adore him.
I've
with
been
Phil and
following
everything,
him
he's-
for a while, and I
Yeah.
think he
There's some
wished me a
really
happy
great people
birthday
out
on
there.
Facebook, and I flipped a shit because I was so excited.
nice.
Oh my God! Did you? Oh my
I
gosh,
was like,
this is
"Mom,
exciting.
Dad, Rich Hogue." so I'd love
Oh,
to.
stringed instruments.
yeah.
And look at his tagline.
Well, yeah, his
Let's
tagline
see
is
it.
"We'll fix it, no matter what it costs."
Well, I'll fix it no matter what it costs. That's awesome.
I wore this because not very many people send us shirts, and when I first met Rich, I had absolutely no idea who he was. And Leo, we were on our Leo was on his way to a client out in San Francisco. We just flew in. It was 100 million degrees in Texas, and it was chilly in San Francisco. So we get to this man's house at the top of the hill, and he has a beard. He's walking out of his garage. I'm looking at him going, "I'm freezing. Do you have any hot tea with lemon?" And he goes, "Okay, I will make you hot tea with lemon." And I go, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Rich. Rich who? Rich Hogue.
Hogue.
What do you do?" "I make guitars like Leo." "Oh, great. Who do you make for?"
Modulus.
"Bob Weir." "Oh, that's great. Can we get some hot tea and lemon now?" And then I
And
realized who
here's
it
Jerry's
was.
toilet paper roll. He has Jerry's
Toilet
toilet
paper
paper roll
roll.
from his house.
He's so nice. He's such a great guy.
He has his toilet paper
and we become
holder
really close.
from
And
his
so then
house.
it was like the biggest joke. So he sent me this shirt.
That's
And
amazing.
So I would never, and I'll never forget him. And he makes beautiful instruments, and he's so talented.
He certainly does.
And
Yeah.
and you have to have him on your show.
Okay.
Hi, Rich Hogue.
If he's watching, or if he, I'll send him a message and see if he'll.
Well,
if he'll
good.
come out.
All right. So anyway, so just
Okay.
email me a
Perfect.
Dropbox.
Oh,
Cheers,
Thanks, brother.
y'all.
one more thing.
Oh yes, fish.
Oh yeah.
I love the sticker.
Maybe
Nice.
Jeremiah.
That's beautiful.
And we love Fish.
That was our last show. We saw.
We love
Yeah,
Fish.
we saw
We love
Fish
the
here
Grateful
this January.
Dead.
Very
and we
cool.
would love the Grateful Dead or Dead and Company to do a concert special with Fish, Grateful Dead, and maybe a couple more jam bands, like all together. It would be a special night.
All
and
for
bring
you.
Philip Leshin.
I would go to
think it'd be
that.
beautiful.
I would go to that.
And
I'm excited.
we'll call it Wendy Elliott's
Yeah.
Jam Band Extravaganza.
Jamboree.
Jamboree.
All right.
Guys, thank you so much. Cheers.
Good night, brother.
Have a good one. Cheers. Bye-bye.